I'd like to specially welcome you to this edition of our program. But before going to the nitty-gritty, have you ever thought about protecting your digital footprints? That's a big question. But yes, in today's digital age, with the world as a global village, data and privacy protection are sacrosanct to prevent hacking and unnecessary breaches. Establishment of the Nigerian Data Protection Commission in 2023 became a turning point in Nigeria's desire to ensure enforcement of data protection laws across all frontiers. This is Reshaping Democracy. I'm Ayodeji Makinde. Yes, the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, NDPC, is a federal government agency vested with the responsibility of supervision, regulation, management and enforcement of data protection. Why not join us as the National Commissioner Chief Executive Officer, NDPC, Dr. Vincent Olatunji, answers citizens' interrogation, delving into a world of data protection and privacy to tell you how the agency is working within the digital space to safeguard public and personal information in our country, Nigeria.
My name is Yusuf Muhammad Laden from Birnin Kebbi State. My question is, what percentage of government and private organizations are compliant with Nigerian data protection law, and what are the infractions?
Thank you very much. I think before we go into that, I need to lay background that it's a completely new ecosystem in most countries of the world. It's just coming up, and our own journey in Nigeria started in 2019 when the regulation was issued on data privacy and protection. But effectively, we took off in 2022. But effectively, with the law signed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GTFR, on the 12th of June 2023, we can say effectively and lawfully we took off on the 12th of June 2023. And so we are saying that we've done less than 2 years. Now, in terms of compliance, I would say it's still very low. But the most important is that we are making progress gradually. For instance, when we started in 2022, the level of registration and audit filing was just 603. As we speak, in terms of registration of data processors and controllers, we are doing over 33,000 in less than 3 years. In terms of audit filing, it was also 603 when we started the first year. As we speak, we are doing about 4,800, which shows that there is traction. Because the level of awareness when we started was very low, but it's getting better now. Then what did we do to be able to get this number, to be able to wrap up these numbers? One, we've embarked on massive awareness campaign to MDAs, to private organizations, and we've had a lot of workshops, capacity building program, which we've done in collaboration with a lot of stakeholders. And a major strategy for us is PPP, public-private partnership. For instance, for MDAs to be able to comply, we approach the office of the Secretary to the Governor of the Federation, usually a circular on the 7th of November 2022 that all MDAs must comply. That is one. Also, the guidelines issued by the Office of Head of Service on the 16th of November 2022 also mandated all MDAs to comply. With that, we're able to increase the figure, the number, the percentage of compliance in the public sector to about 20% now. When we started, it was less than 4%. As we speak, it has risen to about 20%. In the budget lines for a lot of ministries this year, you'll see compliance to data protection in their budget lines in most of these ministries. So it shows that we are making progress. In the private sector, it was better than the public sector because a lot of them, especially banks, telcos, insurance companies, they know that the issue of privacy is very important to their work. That any data leak, any breach will lead to a way of discrediting the organizations. And through that, they're going to lose businesses, their customers don't have trust in them. When we started, it was less than 50%. Now it's above that because of the increasing awareness that we will be having over time. So the journey is getting better, and we are making tractions, and the level of compliance is getting better, even in the area of capacity building too. For instance, when we started data protection, certified data protection professionals in Nigeria were less than 5,000. As we speak, we are doing over 23,000 based on the work that we are doing in collaboration with a lot of private sector organizations.
My question is, how does the Commission can protect or measures put in place to boost the agencies that are solely responsibility of gathering data, such as cyber threat, hacking, and other crimes?
Now, the issue of building firewalls or protecting personal data is two. One is the technical measures, which speak to the issue of firewall that you're talking about, antivirus, the kind of security measures that are put in place to protect their database. That is one. The other part, which has to do with privacy, in which we are playing a very key role, which has to do with the laws, the regulations, the regulatory framework guiding the collection and processing of personal data. And that's why we come in strongly to say that organizations must have their privacy policies clearly stating who they are, what they do, the kind of data they collect, how they collect, who they share with, and so on, which is the law, which speaks to our own Data Protection Act in Nigeria. And what we are doing is, we have a kind of guidelines for them to comply. One, you must register with NDPC as a data controller and data processor. You must have your privacy policy clearly define who you are, what you do, and so on. You must appoint a data protection officer who oversees your data processing activities and ensure that you put in place all these measures. Then awareness among your staff. All of them must understand data privacy and know the impact, either positive or negative, on your company. In addition to that, capacity building, which is really key. That is, train your staff on, especially those who collect and process data, on what to do, the kind of measures that we need to put in place, not disclosure, and a lot of things that they need to put in place to ensure that data in their database is protected. In the area of data sharing, maybe you are sharing your data with another organization or there's cross-border transfer data. There are also procedures for this clearly stated in the Act. And what we have done to support or to assist organizations is to license DPCOs, which is a special model, original to us in Nigeria. Before we started, it had never been done in any country, and a lot of countries are even coming to learn from us now. When we started with about 15 DPCOs that were licensed. As we speak, we've licensed 267 companies who are professionals in data privacy and protection. What they do is to offer compliance as a service to data controllers and processors. And that is the support we are giving them. So that is why we adopted that model, that professionals can step in to take organizations through compliance on our behalf and fight their reports to us. That is one strategy that has really worked for us and has really brought us to where we are today. That has actually ramped up the level of compliance in Nigeria. And I believe organizations should make use of this opportunity, this window that is open for them to use a licensed DPC to guide them through compliance. Because in doing so, we're also creating jobs. Because an average DPC will employ between 5 to 10 people. And I imagine where we have licensed 267, you can imagine the multiplier effect. And it's not only for data privacy, there are others that will be working for them, even ordinary clerks, data entry staff, those going around to meet with their clients and so on. A lot of things are coming up. So the DPCO model is what is working for us and which we recommend to organizations to get them through compliance.
My name is Joseph Kingston from Calabar, Cross River State. National Commissioner, sir, how do partnership with foreign data protection authorities enhance Nigeria's data protection capabilities? And what benefits do these collaborations bring to the country?
Okay. You know that the world is not a global village. And what we are talking about is your personal information, my personal information, which we exchange on a regular basis. We go on platforms that we don't even know where they are hosted. We share our personal information, even bank details. And that is why we are talking of adequacy level in terms of protection. That is, for any data of Nigeria to go to any foreign land, we must look at the adequacy level of that country. What do we have under adequacy requirements? One, enforceable data subject rights. Which are the rights of data subject, that is you and I. What are the rights that we have under the law? Two, enforceable data protection law, which is the act that we have as a country. Three, an independent data protection authority that will oversee the process of the law and the consent of the data subject. These are things that we need to really look into. Now, if you are moving your data from one country to the other, we are here at the NDPC to ensure that that country has adequate protection for your data with them. Then what kind of transfer method do they have? There are several ones, like the business corporate rules, there is standards of contracting clauses, a lot of certification processes. Then, even in terms of transferring this data, is there anything like encryption method that even data in transit, if anybody has any unauthorized access to such data, would the data be meaningful to them? The Network of African Data Protection Authorities is made up of all data protection authorities in Africa. We have about 26 of them. In Nigeria, we have even moved out of Africa now. Today, we currently have an existing MOU with the Office of the Privacy Commissioner in Canada. We have with the Dubai Financial Center, which is the equivalent of also equivalent of a data protection authority there. We are discussing seriously with ISO in the UK, we are discussing with Singapore and a lot of other countries like that to ensure that we have proper handshake, especially in the area of one, knowledge exchange. What kind of experience do you have in implementing your own law in your country? What are the experiences that you can share with us? Mutual legal assistance, which is really important. For instance, in our law, the scope of our law covers data controllers and processors that are domiciled in Nigeria. Also, it covers data controllers and processors that are domiciled outside Nigeria, but processing data of Nigerians. Now you are saying domiciled outside Nigeria, processing our data. How do you want to enforce your law in a foreign land? So that is why we are having proper handshake with other DPAs, that if there's any breach of data of Nigeria in your country, you will support us.
My name is Oka Ibo from Calabar, Cross River State. National Commissioner, sir. What initiatives is the Commission undertaking to create public awareness about data rights and responsibilities? And do you measure the effectiveness of this campaign?
So many. Even discussing with you is one of such measures. We go out on campaign, grant interviews, visits regulators in different sectors. And that even led us to having a memorandum of understanding with some organizations like for instance, the FCCPC, which is about consumer rights, protection of consumer rights. We have with the Lottery Commission. We have with SMEDA, which is about gaming. We have with NICOM for insurance people. All these regulators for different sectors, we have here with them to deepen privacy in their different sectors. Creating awareness, let them know what is right and what they need to do. Also, we organize awareness programs, workshops, training, and so on. And that is what we call our Privacy Week. January 20th of every year is the Global Privacy Day, celebrated all over the world. But in our case, Nigeria, because of the low level of awareness, every year is 1 week. We spend 1 week creating awareness in the area of data protection, even up to secondary schools, universities. We go there, talk to students about privacy and so on. Now we are at the level of, we have even started setting up privacy clubs in universities where we have people coming together as privacy champions, because letting students know their rights and the students for them to know their obligations. And as I said, capacity building is also key. It's part of what we're trying to do to ensure that we create awareness. Radio jingles, billboards, and I don't know, very close to Transcorp. There's a huge billboard also talking about privacy. If you are coming into Nigeria from anywhere, from at the arrival hall or the international wing, you see our billboards, both sides, speaking about data subjects' rights, obligations of data controllers, and so on. So these are some of the things that we are doing, even in the newspaper publications. And more importantly, We are available on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. We are available where we disseminate information about data privacy and protection and about our activities too. These are some of the things that we are doing to create awareness.
My name is Comrade Sonya Olu Abayomi. With the situation of with the launch of the National Certification Program for Data Protection Officers, how many organizations have enrolled, and what impact do you expect this program to have on data protection compliance in Nigeria?
The impact is huge. One, to develop a pool of globally competitive human capital in data privacy in Nigeria. But the good thing about this ecosystem is that if you are an expert in data privacy in Nigeria, you can work in any part of the world. The only thing is that you need to understand their laws wherever you want to work. So it's globally competitive. I want to build a pool to be a major exporter of data protection professionals to other countries in Africa and even outside Africa. What we have in our law is that if you are a data controller of major importance, you must engage the service of a data protection officer. And from our calculations, we identified about 500,000 organizations in Nigeria that are data controllers. And we are saying each of them must employ a data protection officer. Now, for you to get certified, like the certificate I have here, the training and certification is about $1,000, which is about 1.6 million with the current exchange rate. What we have not got is how many Nigerians can achieve this? How many Nigerians can afford this? So we have now domesticated that certification process. That our DPCO that we let them to take out compliance, additional service to them that they can train. So we are saying we will give you people to train. When you train them, we now have a national certification body, IIM, where the DPCOs, when they train people, they now go and write their certification exam. Because the same thing that the likes of IAPP, PSCB do is they have their local agents in different countries who will train people. They will now go and write their certification exams. So our own agents in Nigeria, they are DPCOs who will prepare them for the exam and they will write the local exams. But in terms of curriculum, standard, delivery method, and the quality of education, we are even better than all these foreign certification bodies. Because we are combining a lot of things. One, our law in Nigeria. Two, the GDPR, which is being seen as a global standard for most countries. Three, Malabo Convention, which is the foundation for data privacy in Africa. The fourth one is the West African ECOWAS Charter on data protection. 4 major documents that we are using. Whereas in other certification, they are using one document, which is the EU GDPR. So our scope is broader than others. And what we did for us to make sure that, to demonstrate that this is possible in Nigeria, we did a pilot in January this year, where we trained, government paid for the training and certification of exam were 500. All of them went through the training and 455 passed the exam, who are now certified data protection officers. The good thing that we have done is to ensure that most of these DPCOs who are trainers are the off-takers. So when you train, you absorb some of them for internship for like 3 months. So by the time they are leaving, they are now professionals in data privacy, so they can work in different companies. So we are preparing them for the job market. And the gap is huge, as I mentioned, which we are trying to be budget permitting and work with a lot of development partners and private sector organizations that we want to grow that ecosystem, have as many data protection professionals as possible that will be able to work in different organizations in Nigeria and outside the country. And that is what we are doing now.
I am Adetunji Adelakun from Ogun State. Dr. Vincent Olatunji, sir, what are the Commission's strategic priorities regarding data protection enforcement and privacy in the artificial intelligence-driven environment, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. Immediately after the law was signed by Mr. President, what we did was to develop our own roadmap, and based on 5 pillars that are directly linked to the current artificial age parity areas and the 5 pillars of the blueprint of the Ministry of Communication and Digital Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy. Now, our own 5 pillars, one is on governance, which is about governance structure for data protection in Nigeria, the law, the privacy policies, what we are doing in Nigeria, and what individual organizations are doing. Second one is awareness and human capital, which I've talked about. The third one is ecosystem and technology. That is, what kind of indigenous technologies can we use to drive implementation of the law, compliance, and so on. This one comes in there. Now we are talking about artificial intelligence. That is part of emerging technologies. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, big data, and so on. They are all categorized as emerging technologies. One good thing that we have in our law is that we can still regulate emerging technologies. In a lot of laws, you will have to go back to Parliament. If you are doing any amendment or any issue and regulation, we don't need to. We just subject it through our own rulemaking process. And we're able to issue guidance notice on emerging technologies, how it to be used to ensure that it doesn't infringe on the privacy of Nigerians. Now we are talking of privacy by design and by default. That is, by the time you are developing your solution, you will have incorporated that aspect of privacy by design to incorporate privacy, the solution that you are developing. Because most of these emerging technologies, they are immutable in nature. That the moment you put any data, you are able to erase. And whereas right to erasure is one of your rights as a data subject. Now, emerging technology is difficult to erase. How do you now put in measure to ensure that that right should be guaranteed? Consent is a major right. You don't even ask for your consent before the process of information. Rectification is there. How do they collect your data? All these are things that are part of what we are telling them that by the time you are developing your solution, incorporate data protection by design. Also, DPIA, data protection impact assessment. When you are deploying a new solution, you need to carry out a DPI to measure the likely risks that may lead to breaches, data breach in your system. We are working with a lot of startups in Nigeria to ensure that whatever they're developing, they incorporate this area of privacy.
I am Adams Abdulkadri, Honorable Commissioner. What lessons have been deduced from the Network of African Data Protection Authorities Conference, which Nigeria played host?
It's huge in the sense that in Africa, all countries in Africa, we are not seeing ourselves as one. We now believe in partnership. Like they say, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We have agreed as data protection authorities in Africa to protect the rights, the interests and freedom of 1.4 billion people, which is huge, and be able to drive privacy. And that is the whole essence of NATPA. We are not talking of harmonization of regulations, regulatory harmonization, framework harmonization in Nigeria, for all of us to have a clear view of what we are talking about. Now, in terms of adequacy requirement, the way Europe has taken it with their population, you can imagine if you are not seeing any tech giant coming to Africa, these are the things that you need to do for our people to protect them. You can imagine how powerful that can be to any organization, any company, any data controller working in Africa. We are getting to that level because already we are doing peer review, capacity building, regulatory harmonization, balance innovation, and privacy. These are things that have been discovered at the level of NATPA. And we're also encouraging other countries that have not put in place their laws, who don't have data protection authority, to do the same. So all of us, all the 52 African countries can move together and ensure that the rights of our people are protected wherever they are in any part of the world.
All right. Now, part of NDPC's mission is creating awareness to educate and ensure compliance with data protection laws in ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, as well as the private sector. I hope the experience sharing has been worth the while with the Commission, exploring the latest developments and best practices in deepening data protection in Nigeria. Let's protect our digital footprints together. I'm Ayodeji Makinde. That's Reshaping Democracy. Bye for now.